Good morning, Sue. Today's April 4th, and I was going to follow up on your request for a little insight into the Chopin Waltz in A minor. I just want to throw a few ideas at you when you're working on it or playing it. When you see the music as written, you don't have to treat it necessarily as it's absolutely so sacred the way Chopin wrote it that you've got to play every note and every little nuance just the way it's written. And I want to give you an idea of a bit of my approach to this. So the beginning is written this way. Very beautiful. It sounds very simple. And that's where the catch is. When something sounds simple, boy, are you in trouble. Because it's an illusion. The simplicity is an illusion. Our job is to get some insight into what sounds simple and maybe realize there's a lot more going into it. So I'll look at an opening like that and I'll explore the sound by changing what I see. I'll take that opening and look for stuff like this. I'll play the chord that opening measure produces, instead of trying to fight playing what I see, which is all that basically creates this chord. And this is where I think a lot of people never have experienced what A minor feels like, sounds like. How do you produce that sound so that it touches something, almost something you can't describe verbally? Now the sound I'm trying to produce, I'm trying to get something that feels sad, that feels longing, that mysterious, unknown. There are things in that sound. That the chord I'm trying to produce, I'm trying to connect emotion into the sound. So it's not just about pushing notes down, but finding a point where you play a chord, listen to the chord, and say, okay, that's nice, or no, that's not. For instance, someone might put their fingers down and just produce any old sound that basically is ugly. And they never get past that sound. And then when trying to play a piece like this, it's built on a layer of never searching and looking for beauty in the sound, and they're always working within this layer of, I'll call it ugliness, because it ain't the sound that's kind of belongs to this piece. And then taking that idea further, almost like a jazz player, he's not limited by what the music says. What if you said, you're telling me, you're giving me permission to play anything I want around this piece? That's exactly what I'm saying. So I'll give you an idea. piece yours, get out of the restrictions of necessarily of trying to be totally accurate and playing exactly what you say, and almost experiment with finding sounds in each measure that kind of touch you and move you. And sometimes just changing it up is how we find what's going to make sense to us. So it's like looking for the unexplained, and often you can find it by being very flexible and open to what you see. The next section is written this way. So I might do things like stopping it at certain points. Kind of jazzy. Now, granted, Chopin might be turning around many times in his grave, but he can't hurt us. He knows we're trying to find some truth about this piece. Now, one of these sections, which starts moving like a dance. One thing that we also want to always keep in mind, it's a waltz. So there's going to be a certain amount of dance quality to this piece. So what I try to get in a section like this is, I try to build a choreography. So I'm floating and jumping. And I find those stops that I use as a practice, the idea of that is look for musical elements as you practice. So never play something 400 times where it's not musical, it's not interesting, it's not doing something to kind of get you to that truth. Practice in a way that it kind of helps explain what makes sense about the piece. And I found that by almost stopping and smelling the coffee and listening to certain sounds really helps me organize what should be going on within the piece. The next section is lyrical. And the trick here is to say, well, this is important, something else is unimportant. You want to get a singing tone. So the right hand that's your typical Chopin lyricism. You want to make that idea flow and kind of make musical sense as you would. You're trying to develop a phrase that sounds pretty and is cohesive. So the idea is to make your left hand the waltz part less important. So you don't want to equalize it. So the right hand has importance. It's like saying, okay, left hand, you play, but I don't want to hear it. It's okay if you play, but I don't want to hear you. So it says. Okay, so one of the nice things about this piece, it's very repetitive. That means you really want to do some pretty things every time you do it, because if you repeat it and enjoy it, you can repeat something 3,000 times. 3,000 beautiful things we can listen to. 6,000 beautiful things we can listen to. But repeating something twice that has no music in it is deadly. So it is worthwhile making a musical stand on certain sections of this piece to say, well, let me get this measure where I feel I've accomplished something. Let me try to, actually I'll try to go through it a little bit now. So during our Corona vacation, by all means use this as therapy. Thank you, Mr. Chopin. And Sue, my dear friend, stay well, stay healthy. God bless you. Bye-bye.